This is a generation that is usually referred to as digital natives. This is a generation that is more prone to anxiety, to all the mental health challenges. One of the things that characterizes this generation is low attention span. They don't have the patience to follow through. Parenting is a skill that helps us to nurture generation, to what is nurturing, to teach, to instruct, to guide children on the right path. Children are supposed to be guided, shape the first 5 years, reinforce. What is on the inside of us is what grows with age, because every other day you're feeding it. Our generation, we haven't done a good job. It always breaks my heart when I'm talking to this generation Z. By the way, they don't respect us. Because, for instance, if we've talked about digital addiction amongst generation Z,
yes.
Who is going to help them when the parents
are addicted as well?
We need to know that parental presence does so much in parenting. Because in parenting, seeing is important. Knowing your child is important. The first ministry you have, if you are a parent, is your children.
Good morning, Dr. Evas, and happy new month.
Thank you so much, Bev.
I like October, and I like the fact that we're both wearing white. What was the reason for your choice?
To be honest with you, I think it was the available.
It was the last thing I had that was clean, and I thought, why not? New month, new brightness. May we receive brightness this month, and may you receive brightness.
Amen.
Yes, thank you for joining us. This is Reality Check. Rachel Mwine will be back. I'm Beverly Nambos and saying you're always privileged to be here because every time I am, I learn. Dr. Evas Atwine, she's a clinical psychologist trained and runs the International Center for Mental Health and Family Care. I will memorize that. She works with a great team, some of whom I know, and they do great work in changing lives of individuals. Because therapy, we don't know how much we need it. We don't know how much the world needs to be healed from trauma, or even just to understand how to maintain a great mental health state. So your work is really important. May you continue to prosper as you change our lives and the lives of people in the world. And today's topic, again, it's important for us to understand how therapy is inclusive because we are talking about Generation Z. Generation Z, if you want to call it. And up until you asked me about the topic, I did not know that two of my eldest belong to this generation. I thought they were Generation Alpha. My eldest turned 17 and my youngest is 13. They're from Generation Z. So tell me, Dr. Evas, have I been parenting them correctly? You let me know. Maybe first start by defining what Generation Z is. How would you define it in a nutshell?
Okay, so probably I'll start by alerting our viewers that my voice is different this morning because, oh my God, I have a cold. And so if I sound a different way, please forgive me. So let's start by defining how that generation looks like. So we have, as you have rightly put it, that it's a generation between 1997 to 2012. So we're looking at people 13 to 28. What is so special about this generation? This is a generation that is usually referred to as digital natives.
So true.
Yes, digital natives because they are exposed to so much. They have access to so much information. They have access to internet, access to smartphones. Everything has been brought to them rather than, us who were different from us who were searching
from books, from individuals,
from books, from individuals, but also I just recently I was running a conversation with Mr. Ben Mwine, and he gave it a history. I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Like how we had only one TV channel years back, and black and white, and not every family had it. And then
the electricity would go alternating days.
Of course, now it has gone back to get go. But just imagine how much access we had to information. So our world was pretty much protected, and so it's different from this generation. So access to information and several media channels, and I mean, they don't look for information, it looks for them.
That's so true. It comes running after them.
Yeah. And of course, it's also a generation, because of that, they're more curious. They're more curious. Again, the generation we grew up in, it was a bit protected, and probably the millennials a little bit, but
1 foot here, 1 foot there.
yeah, but to be honest with you, this particular one, it's something else. And because they are exposed to the global village, which would be okay, because I mean, to be honest with you, I'm a parent, and I've been telling fellow parents, instead of being paranoid about how children are getting so much information, it just reminds us that we need to do much more to help them filter the information that is helpful to them and what is not helpful. Now, because they are more curious because of what they see, then they are going to go out there. It's a global village, so now it's no longer my neighbor next door. It is the world.
Yes.
Yeah, it is the world. They're exposed to this, they're exposed to that. They are seeing so much. Now, I'll also tell you as a mental health practitioner that this is a generation that is more prone to anxiety, to all the mental health challenges, because of the pressure they get from the world, what they are seeing. I mean, look, when we get more information in, every information we get into your brain, you're supposed to process it. So just imagine how much information they have to process. Now, you have seen, for instance, so many young people who are struggling with self-esteem because of what they see. They want to be like everyone else, all these people who are smaller. You know, like, I mean, so much information they're exposed to. And it's okay for them to desire to compare themselves with other people, but is it healthy comparison? You know?
Yeah.
Is it healthy comparison? And so it's causing them a lot of anxiety. It's causing them a lot of pressure, because they want to overstep certain things and jump and live in a world that they don't comprehend yet, but who knows, they can get there with. One of the, just a couple of days back, I was talking to young people, and now we have a challenge of so many young people who don't want to go to school, to complete school. Do you know, we're having so many young people dropping out of uni because they are seeing Bill Gates and they don't know who else, and they think, do I have to be rich? Do I have to study to finish school?
I know that narrative of he dropped out of school and he dropped.
And I always ask them, oh, how many people do you know that dropped out of school and are successful? And they say, Bill Gates,
Mark Zuckerberg.
There's another one. They count like 5.
There are a number. And rightfully so. While I appreciate what they say, they must understand different economies.
Look, don't even worry about that. One of the questions I ask them, if you can count them on your fingers, so what is happening to the rest of the world population?
Yes.
You see, just what are the chances that you can be among these 5?
When you look at it, though, and that's a really important point, I'm glad you mentioned it. Do you think it's because they have seen the universities subsequently not producing what they thought? In other words, the failure rate of lack of jobs, people are broke, constantly in debt, or individuals failing even after they graduate. Do you think that is also a factor in not giving them the desire to continue with education?
It probably is. Look, it probably is, but I'm not so sure they even push their brains to that point.
To that point, to think that far.
Because most of them who are dropping out of school are giving this narrative of, look, I think I was gifted to do something else. I
Oh,
don't
right.
think law is,
Yes.
is my thing. I don't think. Now, every time, so please note that, and I forgot to mention this, that one of the things that characterizes this generation is low attention span, impatience. They don't have the patience to follow through because everything is like quick, quick, quick. I mean, like it's an emergency. They run a life of emergency. And so that's why they need to be helped. So that's why, for instance, they'll say, why would I spend 5 years in school, rather 5 years doing a university course? Probably by that time I should have made more money, you know. So again, that is the generation. And so that's why we are getting a number of them out of school. And maybe if you would think about what you're talking about, like, okay, people finish school, they don't get employment. But, you know, I keep telling them, I say, you see, do you know that finishing your course has a psychological benefit?
The confidence. It's not just about
it gives you confidence, it anchors you, but it also gives you a sense of achievement.
Yes.
And achievement is a psychological concept. Rather, it gives psychological benefits because it's a well-being concept, because a sense of achievement motivates you.
It releases endorphins.
That's why making some, I was telling one of them, I said, you see, finishing your first degree is like making your bed. You see, when you make your bed in the morning, people don't know, it gives you a lot of energy. It's the first activity that gives you a sense of accomplishment and achievement. Now, achievement always gives us happiness. It activates our happiness hormones. And so happiness gives you motivation. So the thing is, if someone starts, you do 3 years in uni, you abandon that. That is resources, mental resources, financial resources, physical resources, and everything wasted. And that taxes it has an effect on your psychology. And so you feel, okay, you get demotivated because you can't move, start something else, but you see you have this unfinished business and you're going to, before you know it's going to.
And then you lack the platforms that have positive reinforcement. It's so important when you said achievement, because I think what that leads to is, if you have a purpose, then you know how to rejoice when you have achievement, because purpose means one achievement after the other. And I believe that people who become more depressed are not because of lack of financial resources. They just don't have a purpose or a drive. Because if I lacked financial resources, it would give me a drive to know, let me work harder in my field to achieve that. But some people don't have that. No purpose, that's why they're running
no
from
identity.
Here to there. Exactly.
No identity.
Lack of awareness
because
and identity.
If, for instance, you are doing an engineering course, I've met some of them, they were doing mechanical engineering, civil engineering, in statistics and all. Now, there is a benefit that you finish that and then call yourself something, you see. But now, one of them asked me yesterday, he said, supposing you sidetrack something, was it sidetracking? And I said, yes, you can sidetrack, but you see, be careful, because if you leave this and go here, you've gone with half energy. You haven't finished.
Half energy.
Half energy.
We don't realize that.
You see, half energy. And now when you leave this, you're straining to be an engineer. But now, and you are looking forward to be called an engineer, not just called, but you also have the resources and you command a position in society. That is powerful for well-being. It is powerful. It's very important for well-being.
It gives a validation almost without you having to run after it.
You see that?
Because it comes from inside. You know you worked hard for it. You know you worked hard. I like what you've said. I remember I was teaching at an international school a few years ago, and my mentor was British. She told me, Beverly, these children like to be punished. She didn't say need to be. She said they like it. And what she meant was they really appreciate a person who is strict and firm and puts them in their place. Don't be fooled. We all think they all want to be spoilt and what? Put them in their place. They don't need it. They like it. They like to know that the teacher before them is secure. And she said, even if you tell them you're going to come on Saturday and work in the library for 2 hours, do it, because they like to know they're in a secure place, a family home. And I think it works with children who are raised by parents who are present and strict. They actually like it. Of course, no one likes the punishment, but what they like is the security. When she told me that, it changed so much in the way I looked at the children and other people. You may think, spoil them. No, she said, be firm. Be firm. That's what they need. And also, deep down, it's what they prefer. Where did we go wrong as parents?
Where did we go wrong? Maybe that's strong, but I'll tell you what. Have we gone wrong? I should inform the viewers that all my children are in this generation.
They are.
All of them. The first being 12 now, and then the other one is the last. So the range is 12 to 28.
Yes.
You see, so that's where my children are. Have we gone wrong? Let's go back to the basics of parenting. What is parenting? Parenting is a skill that helps us to nurture generation, to what is nurturing, to teach, to instruct, to guide children on the right path. So the thing is, do we know the right path?
Do we know the right path?
Do we know the right path? So let me just step back and probably give context to this conversation. Every human being is born with two major elements. Number one, defiance.
Maybe some of us have more than others.
Defiance. We are all born defiant. Defiant. Number two, we are all born selfish and self-centered.
Trying to explain that it's the first time I'm hearing it.
Yes. Every human being is born self-centered. They don't think about anyone else. So I've ever shared this, and let me just explain it once again. First of all, life runs on principles. So our lives are governed by principles. You know, what governs your life? What directs your actions? You don't just go and do things. No. You're driven by something. You're driven by, so principles drive us. You see? So there are three principles. The first principle, every human being has been 0 to 1.5 years.
Every human being.
Every human being. You, myself, have ever been 0 years. 0 to 1.5 years. Every human being, their life operates on a principle called pleasure. Okay? Pleasure. Pleasure is self-centeredness. I just need my pleasure. I need to be happy. That's why a child at that point is always thinking about themselves. They are not saying, oh, mommy is still busy.
Let me not cry.
No. So everything they want, they cry, and they need it now. Yeah? Pleasure, no patience, no nothing. Me.
Yes.
I need it. And so they're not saying, oh, my sister also needs mommy. No. They're thinking about themselves.
And then you find competition sometimes when you have two at the same age.
That's the thing. So that point, the child's brain is operating on just me, no one else. And that stage, a person is trying to maximize happiness, pleasure, and to reduce pain. They don't want to stretch. Okay? So that is important for all of us as parents to know. Of course, at this point, you're not going to say, oh, you see, there is your sister. They can't comprehend it. This is a baby, 1.5 years. From 1.5 years to 3 years, parenting introduces a very important principle called reality. Reality. What does reality do? Reality helps a child to know, number one, that there are other people in the world other than themselves. It also helps them to know that they can wait, right? They don't have to get what they want now. Yeah, because when a child is crying at an area, they're saying, give me now if you don't have any. That's why even when some of us mothers who breastfeed, you can get the baby to breastfeed and they
bite
your breast because they are angry.
They sense that,
Now, what do we do? So parenting begins there. Of course, up to 1.5, you could try to introduce something, but the brain doesn't comprehend it. But from 1.5 to 3 years, science shows us that then when we introduce the reality principle, we are teaching a number of things. Number one, patience, right? You can wait.
You can wait.
You can wait. Let me come. Wait.
What's the best way to teach waiting and patience at that age?
Oh, yeah. So, number one, not just being available every time the child, you're sensing manipulation, because you see, by this time a child has started their manipulative tricks. And so not yielding to manipulation, and being firm, being firm, and being intentional, knowing that now because for instance, if you tell a child, wait, you're teaching a very important principle of restraint, of emotional regulation, self-control, emotional regulation. So you're teaching a child that you don't have to get what you want anytime you think you want it.
Yes.
Okay? So we introduce that, but we also introduce a concept of sharing, knowing that other people are there. You can share your time, you can share your, like you can share your mom, you can share your mom. And so if I say, wait, let me first, and then the child, it's me, wait. So what are you doing? This is brain wiring.
Of course, yes.
This is brain wiring, a child knowing that I can't wait, I can't wait.
Then why did we come up with the term difficult child? Because usually in families, there's always that one who needs more care, or you bring in a relative to, you sort that one out. I'm
going to answer that, babe. Let me finish on the 3 stages so that people understand that this is all the Gen Z things we are talking about. Some of them are labels, but children lack principles. So I was talking about the reality principle. Now, when you introduce reality, you're reducing on the principle of pleasure. Because you see, when this child was saying, give me no, me, you're saying, wait, what are you doing? You're training them to reduce on pleasure and introduce an important element so that they can be a balanced child.
Yes.
You see that? So pleasure is okay. But you can't live off pleasure all the time.
No.
Now, I know why I'm saying this, because I'm going back to your Gen Z thing.
Yes.
Then, from 3 years to 5 years, we introduce another important principle called morality, morals. The moral compass. We start shaping the moral compass. Because by this time, the brain can comprehend what you're saying, and then start wiring it in the system of this child, to know that this is right and this is wrong.
What age is that now? About
3 to 5 years.
From 3
to 5 years. Morality, that's when they understand it.
Really?
Okay? So sometimes we start earlier, but a child doesn't get it. 3 to 5 years, that's when we introduce the morality principle. Morality principle helps to shape the conscience of the child, to know this is not right and this is right. Now, if you have met adults who cannot distinguish between right and wrong, it's rooted in that. They didn't have enough. Yeah, they didn't have.
My goodness.
So I mean, I made so many in my counseling work where you say, but how do you do that? They will say, who doesn't do it? Everyone is doing it.
So do you think that where a child may not have that parental guidance, that the environment can shape them into understanding?
Please note that the first 5 years of life, that's the character formation stage. This is a stage where we nurture 90% of the principles that are supposed to guide the child. If you miss that window, and I get many people ask me, but I missed it, but that's okay. But you see, from that point, and I'm going to tell you why that stage is important. This is a stage where children are doing what we call concrete thinking. What is concrete thinking? Concrete thinking is where a child thinks only about things you have told them, and they are not reasoning so much. You see? Now, that's when you hear children make reference to their parents, to their teachers, and they say, teacher said.
The teachers, and that's it.
If any parent has ever had their child tell them, Teacher said, I don't care what you're telling me. They are doing, they are doing what we call concrete thinking. They are not doing abstract thinking, which I'm coming to Gen Zs. Now, when a child hasn't gotten enough concrete on their brain, if I may say that, because you see, or we haven't written on their concrete.
So by 5 years old, you think that is the crucial.
Yes, because you see, there are statements like a child's brain is like wet cement. What you write there is what sticks.
Forever.
Right? Now, most of us parents, we leave children to run on pleasure, because you see, a balanced child, a child who has a good perspective to life, a good outlook, balanced outlook to life, needs to have learned the reality. We introduce enough of it. Reality. No, wait. No, you can't do that. So the first 5 years are crucial. That's when 90% of a child's brain is what? Is developed. Now, if it develops with all those principles written on, then they are going to, irrespective of which generation, and I'm not going to contradict myself, because you see, we've now come with these labels of Generation Y, Generation Alpha, Generation. The thing is, children have no principles. Now, I am telling you that then once a child is anchored in those principles, that this is right, this is wrong, and the parent is consistent, right? Because consistency. Because if you say it's not right to eat while standing, or it's not okay for you to fight, then it's wrong on Monday, it's wrong Tuesday, it's wrong on up to Sunday, and another week, and another week. Now the thing is, with children, when we introduce concepts, we need to reinforce them through consistency. And now, if you're not available to see this child and be able to reinforce those principles, then they drop them. They go back to the pleasure principle, right? And that's why, so they go back to the pleasure principle, because that's natural. That's why you hear people say, me naturally, I'm like that. No, you're supposed to train and retrain. You're supposed to be helped to have internal dialogues that help you to govern your life. You're supposed to have a sense. That's why teaching is important. That's why the entire Bible doesn't talk about parents providing to children. It talks about parents teaching and instructing children. Because the moment you instruct them, then they are going to have a good, fair, healthy outlook to life. You see, they are going to be able to say, this is right, this is wrong. Now, you asked that when we say this child is difficult.
Because I think many families, I'm sure you've heard this yourself, many parents coming to you and saying, I have a difficult child, or maybe they need counseling, maybe they need special attention. How does that come about?
Look, and in all honesty, Bev, I've talked about that children are supposed to be guided, shape the first 5 years, reinforce. The entire remaining time is for reinforcing those. Did I tell you? Are you doing that? All that. But you see, our human nature always spills over. Our human nature is always looking to cut corners and to break rules. That's why
go back to the pleasure principle.
100%, because that's natural. It doesn't require so much work. You know, what does it require to feel? No, we always human nature is always fighting to go back to pleasure. Me. That's why you see the whole world is full of selfishness, self-centeredness, because it's in our nature. It's in our nature. Now, if you check the entire world, all rules in this world are trying to address those two things: defiance and selfishness. Selfishness. Read the Bible.
That's the currency.
Yeah, read the Bible. The Bible, all the rules, all the commandments are addressing those two.
That.
Read the Exodus 20. All the commandments.
Adultery will bring temporary stealing, coveting, All those things you shouldn't
That
do.
is about two sins. Selfishness and defiance. Those two. Now, that pleasure principle, if we do not have enough content, is it enough resources in the area of conscience development, morality,
Yes.
and reality, then a person just runs. They grow.
They grow.
They grow.
They grow up.
They grow up.
And also this idea of selfishness grows with them.
Oh, because what is in you is what grows.
What grows.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is on the inside of us is what grows with age, because every other day you're feeding it. So whatever you feed is what grows.
What grows, yes.
Now, so when I tell you that, I was trying to give it a background for parents to know that irrespective of a generation, as long as we teach the right principles, you'll find that a child can control themselves. Because look, if you don't teach reality principle, that's where we are struggling with children addictions and all. You see, I mean, again, the pleasure principle will always creep in. That's why parenting is a lifelong journey. We don't stop.
No.
We don't stop. We just keep telling and telling and telling. I have older children. But you keep reminding. Of course, when you have put in something, you're watering. But you don't water something you haven't put seeds on.
No.
Yeah, you don't put seeds of teaching and consistently teaching. Can I also, Bev, just smuggle this in to help parents understand that you cannot teach what you don't do?
What you don't do.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask that.
Right.
Our behavior.
Right.
Our behavior.
Now, so you've heard of this principle, the principle of seeing and doing.
Yes.
And so what we call monkey see, monkey do.
Yes.
Again, our generation, we haven't done a good job. And I've heard some of us say, oh, our parents were going through the same things, they just hid them. That's okay. But even hiding them is good enough. But our generation, we are crying over children being difficult, but look at the things we are teaching, like digital addiction.
We are the ones more addicted.
How many us parents are addicted to our phones and our other gadgets?
We tell them, don't eat while your phone is on. We do it. And I become upset when parents of Gen X say that children, teenagers, they're always on Instagram. No, Gen X is always on Instagram. We say they're always on TikTok. No, Generation X is always on TikTok, as is Generation Y.
Parents.
It's the parents who are more addicted in many
Parents
cases.
are more addicted.
In many cases, yes, they are.
Yeah, recently one of our client organizations asked us to run a session for them on supporting teenagers with digital addiction. I said, no, we're going to talk to parents about digital addiction.
And every parent should subscribe and join that session.
Yes, because you see, 80% of what a child learns is seen from parents.
From parents.
Now, what happens is that as parents, when we don't have anything to give, then children lose faith in us. It always breaks my heart when I'm talking to younger people, this Generation Z. By the way, they don't respect us.
No.
It breaks my heart.
I think that many parents of Generation X are confused and they're also entitled. So many of them will go on Instagram and give inspirational quotes or what. They're so entitled to think people need the inspirational quotes or they're the right vessel to carry it. But many of them, because I know their behavior, I feel, no, I don't think so. Your behavior does not match what you're saying. And
I feel different, Bev. I feel like in every generation there's someone that God has appointed to bless their
to bless
people.
others.
It is okay.
Yeah.
But it's the motive behind.
The motive.
Yeah, the motive behind. Recently one of our little children was telling me that they want to start a podcast.
Yeah. How little? What age is that?
Age 12.
12, all right.
And he said, I think I want to start a podcast. And he was giving me ideas of, like what he wants to share. I think as children, we need to read the Bible more. I said, that's okay, darling.
Lovely.
And I think it's okay. I mean, I've listened to some young people who have some thoughts. Maybe they need to be developed a little more. Maybe they need to learn more. It's only when they think, like recently, one of the boys in one of the schools walked up to me and said, "Can you imagine these two people who wrote these books? I read their books, but I think I have better ideas."
Oh, now that's, yes.
You see,
that person isn't developed
that's
too.
okay. We have that, and they also need grace. But the main point is that what is very heartbreaking is for parents not having what to offer. Because, for instance, if we've talked about digital addiction amongst Generation Z,
Yes.
who is going to help them when the parents themselves
are addicted as well? Yes.
You walk in the house, in the first 5 minutes, you're on your phone.
You're not greeting them.
You're not greeting them. You're not talking to them. I also didn't tell you that actually, because this Generation Z is exposed to so much ideas, they read.
They do.
I've got some of them tell me, but a parent is supposed to do this, a parent is supposed, and by the way, that's not entitlement. The thing is, we are not doing a good job. Look, you see, when we were growing up, our parents were nearer.
Yes.
Not that we didn't have some people fall through the cracks,
Of course.
but I want to tell you that parental presence is powerful. Parental presence is powerful. Those who are in my generation, you know that maybe our parents were not moving so much. I do remember, like, when we were young and our mom was leaving home, oh my God, it would be a crisis. Mom is leaving to go where? I think I have some memories of when mom left home to go, and she had lost her dad. I was little, and she lost her dad, and she had to go all the way to now I'm even forgetting because they left that place, like far away.
At least for a week.
For a week. It was a crisis. Mom is not home. Now, we need to know that parental presence does so much in parenting because it, number one, it offers assurance of protection. When mom and dad are around, or mom is around, I mean, I don't have to struggle. So children do not develop anxiety because they feel shielded, okay? But also a parent presence, you're going to see. Because in parenting, seeing is important. Knowing your child is important. Most of the time we are parenting children, we are strangers to children.
We're strangers because you may be physically there, but emotionally.
But if you're on phone,
don't see, you're
disconnected.
Yes, you're disconnected.
You're disconnected. So parental presence helps a child, it helps a parent, number one, to know their child. That's why most of the time I've met parents who are saying, how can my child know that, do that? And I ask them, how much do you know about your child? They have no idea. They just have no idea. All they know, I mean, you hear, you called us Generation X.
X, yes. So 40 to 55 or to 60. I think 60
That's
is still
where
Generation
we are,
X. Yes.
all of us.
Yes,
yeah.
Generation X.
And so we are always saying, oh, my parent was available. We are not available. Because you see, when you're with a child, you're going to know them. You're parenting a child, On this show, I've shared about different personalities that we parent. Now, these children are different. There are those that have a high concentration rate. There are those that have a low, poor concentration rate. There are those that are aggressive in nature. Cholerics. There are those that have a lot of energy, and they are bound to manipulate others and do all that. There are those that are quiet and are prone to manipulation, the phlegmatics. How do you parent the different personalities when you're not with them?
You're not present. How do you even know that different personalities?
How do you know them? How do you know a struggling child? Now, some of children who personalities sanguines. If your child is a sanguine, they are likely to have a low attention span, and so they need a bit of presence, reinforce them, remind them, and all.
Because they're highly emotional.
They're highly emotional. Where are you as a parent?
Now, about availability, do you think that the current state of affairs, the economy, socio-economic, social-political state of affairs has influenced our availability and influenced the decisions that many people may have to have 2 jobs or 3 jobs? How do you speak into that? Because I know this conversation has come up in various ways, and people say their economy was different. When they left, there were jobs for them. School fees were less. There were less financial struggles. Would you care to comment about that?
100%, Bev. Look, we would be unfair to just stand here and say that our generation is outrightly wicked. And no, we aren't. We aren't. We are working against all odds. But the thing is, we have to prioritize and know the most important thing. I don't know how many of us parents really get scared to know that our children's lives are hinged on our parenting. That when our child fails later on, the world is going to ask, where did this child grow up from?
We don't realize how important our presence is.
I'll tell you, that freaks me out. I don't want anyone to marry my child and then they say, where did this child grow up from? I don't want my child to be in the workplace and someone is saying, where did this child? And you see, we ask that question, but we don't know that it's actually true.
And we're making those decisions for them now in our daily patterns.
Because we think we can manage everything with money and all. And we are, of course, as a parent, we are anxious. Who wants their child to bring a bad name? But you see, we do not, at parenting stage, we don't put that attention. We don't bear that in mind, that 80% of this child's life is shaped at home. It's shaped at home. We are taking children to Christian schools. But the best Christian school is your home. You see, because you see, that's why I was talking about the first 5 years. Teach a child to read the Bible. Teach a child to love, to fear the Lord, and to hate evil. Teach a child at that basic level, and make sure that you reinforce this on their concrete, and make sure that they get it, repeat it. There is power in repetition.
And behave in that way.
I'm sure you know this. The power of what is this principle? The power of repetition. You know, when we repeat things, then
it becomes a habit.
Yes, because you're reinforcing it. I've forgotten the principle. But you see, we are supposed to repeat this, repeat. You can't repeat when you're not available. You see, you can't be a stranger to children. Now, what happens is that economy, because we are working, that's okay. It's hard. But what does it mean? What have we been telling, what do teachers tell you? Double your effort.
Yes.
Now, because it's not as comfortable as it was before. One time I told my mother-in-law, she was saying, you know, my sweet mother-in-law, she was asking about having other children, as it were.
Yes.
And then I said, Mom, but you know, now economy. She said, why are you taking children to expensive schools? I said, but where do we take them? Then she was showing me a school in the village.
Have 4 more children take them
Yes,
there.
he said, but your husband studied here. Why are you taking children to expensive schools? Now, we have to acknowledge that times have changed. And we have children in international schools. We have children, I mean, the fees amounts are brutal and all that. That's understandable. But do we have our priorities right here? Do we have them right? Now, so because parents have settled in providing, in paying fees, and we comfort ourselves, we say, I pay fees, why doesn't this child get it? But that's not the thing. That's not the thing. I'll tell parents a secret that when I meet children who are complaining about us in our counseling rooms, I say, shame to us, because we have prioritized paying these big fees and we have lost it.
I think also we prioritize other activities. Parents are doing so much. They're every day after work, they're volunteering. They have an online volunteer session. They have an evening serving, I don't know which communities. Now that extra time, even though it may be of good service, it does take away the service of being a parent. Can you comment
You see,
on that?
let me tell you, Bev, when I tell, and by the way, some of these things we just have to do. I push myself to do them. Let me emphasize what I've ever mentioned here, that every level requires a different you, right?
I like that. Every
Yes,
level
requires a different you.
you.
So once you get children, you have to adjust. And life is about prioritizing and reprioritizing. Unfortunately, I think what happens is that as parents, we want to keep in our comfort zones. We want to keep doing the things we used to do and do them at the same rate we used to do, even when we have children. You see, I've always mentioned this in view of marriage, that people married, they want to remain single. People have children, they want to remain single. When you have children and you're single, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Because you see, if your schedule remains the same, if you go to work very early in the morning when your children are sleeping, after work you go to meet with the girls or with the boys, and you come home when they are sleeping, and Monday through Friday or Saturday.
Or you're volunteering for another organization.
You can even be doing work for the Lord.
Yes. Instead of doing it at home, it's a problem.
But you see, the thing is, what is your priority? What are your priorities like? Are they really in line with what you should be doing? Because if your children, I like scripture. I think there's scripture in Genesis 9:8 or 8:9. When God was telling Abraham, he said, I trust you. I trust you to raise your children after my
own heart.
And I'm paraphrasing, but I think he says, I know that you teach your children my word and they follow my ways. When God gives us children, he's actually saying that to every parent, right? And so that I tell parents, and I believe it, the first ministry you have, if you are a parent, is your children. Raise your children.
Yes.
Because you see, if your children are right, my children are right, his children are right, and then we are going, God is sure that we are going to have a godly generation and a healthy generation. But now, who are you ministering to first and foremost? Right?
It's wrong.
Yes.
It is wrong.
And I'm not saying this to promote self-centeredness, but priority. And I want to remind parents, if you leave your children sleeping, from Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday, and you only see them
when you're going to church.
On Sunday, you drive them to church, or you take them for ice cream. You don't know your children.
And you're on the phone. Even that time of ice cream, you're on the phone.
You don't know your children, you are a stranger to your children. Right? If that's your schedule, your children are always alone. They don't see you, because there are some children who are asking, does daddy come? Especially dads. So if you leave your children sleeping in the morning when they are still young, and you come back, you find them sleeping. You can still sleep at home, you can sleep in your house, but you can still be an absentee parent. Why? Because of the things I talked about there. Presence. And presence is not just appearance. No. Presence of a parent is not just being there.
It's real connection.
It's real connection. Now, we are talking about Generation Z. Generation Z, I told you that they are very curious. And that curiosity, they want to ask questions and engage. They want They want conversation. They want someone to clarify on some of the things they are saying. But now the parent is not available for conversation. And I want to tell you, typical of city dwellers, run to office, work, pass somewhere.
To volunteer.
Not even volunteer.
Or coffee.
Bars. Look at bars.
Oh, coffee
bars are full.
To distress, as they call it.
To distress, to declutter, they say. But you see, you can still do that. One of the conversations I've had with people is about work-life balance. All those aspects are important. You can connect with your friends, you can connect with the church, you can be spiritual, you can volunteer, you can. But the question is that happening at the cost of parenting your children? Because what is the most important thing? You see? Now, one of the things, Bev, I'll tell you, one of the most painful things that will happen to us as parents is when your children grow and you realize you didn't plant enough in them.
I'm sure
that's how we start blaming the world. Oh, you know, we are operating in a difficult world. Now, we have parents who are talking about these days. And they say, children of these days. We have a parent called these days. and I've always told parents, there's no parent called these. These are our children. You see, these are our children. Teach them. That's why I started deep there. What kind of perspectives do they have? What kind of mental outlook do they have towards certain? When I think about how much we have to teach our children, and I can't stand here and pretend that I've taught everything to my children, but when I think about how much we need to teach our children.
Do you think we put too much responsibility in the school or in fellowships to do the job for us?
100%. I mean, we do that. We do that, babe. That's why we are on the run looking, not on the run, we are everywhere looking for Christian schools. And I've said it, let me repeat it. The best Christian school is your home. You want your children to be Christian, to be spiritual? Home. Home. Because there, what the world teaches, I've said, we are all a product, 80% a product of home. So, church, that's why we have people broken in church. Yeah, they missed out on basic things. Look around, even church leaders who lacked on basic things which I was teaching, reality, morality.
So they overcompensate by being aggressive or overbearing.
Yeah, they do. Because you see, every time we realize we miss out on time, we try to compensate. And what happens? So the thing is, let's focus our effort on teaching our children. Because God knew that once we fix family, that's why his heart is towards family. You see? Read scripture, Psalm 68, verse 6 to 8. Yeah. He placed the lonely in families. Yes. He placed the lonely children, lonely souls in families so that they can teach them and love them and connect and do all that. Now, once parents are not connected to their children, you can't teach. Children don't listen to strangers. And it is very easy to be a stranger to your child. Very, very easy to be a stranger. You just need to do a few things.
Consistently wrong.
Consistently. And what happens? Sometimes when we are not available, we are not balancing our work. Look, we have to work. And I've talked to, we support several workplaces. I've told them, yes, work. I work.
Be productive.
But I don't work on Saturday. I don't work on Saturday, and I'm clear to my clients. I say, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to pray for you now? And then we meet on Monday. They say, oh, I won't make it through the weekend. I say, no, you're going to. Let's do this. Let's do what we call emotional first aid. And I'll pray for my clients. I'll feel for them. I'll love them. But I'm very clear that I don't
Boundaries
work on Saturday.
Boundaries are so important.
I don't work on Saturday. That Saturday is for connecting with my children, for connecting with my husband. I need to be home, for connecting with my home. I need to be, I don't want to be a stranger in my house. Now, do I still do the work? Yes. Do I serve humanity? Yes. But if I counsel people's children, fix people's marriage while mine is collapsing, when I'm speaking to people's children, which is okay. But my children I'm
falling apart.
I'm
Yes.
an absentee mom. You think God is pleased that I'm reaching out to humanity?
No, of course not.
He knew. God knew that once we have healthy, stable, anchored families where children are raised, that's why. Read scripture. Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy talks about, we are, I love that scripture. Deuteronomy 6. We are instructed, teach your children and teach them, why do you sit? Why do you lie down?
Yes.
Why do you do this?
Yes.
Why do you do
In other
that?
words,
Why do you
all the
walk?
time.
Why do you do? What's that?
It's an 24-hour job.
It is a 24-hour job.
24-hour job.
And it speaks to the consistency. It speaks to the consistency.
You know, there are some cultures and economies where there are social services. If they deem a parent or a guardian unfit to care for a child, they put the child in the system. And sometimes it works. Sometimes the system then gives the child a sense of lack of belonging. Do you think that these systems are necessary at times because the parents have completely failed, for one reason or another, to support a child the way the child should be supported?
Which systems?
The systems that support, for example, there are certain cultures and economies where there are social services and their job is to go around and assess if a child is being looked after properly. And they have different indicators. They look at the safety, they look at the health, they look at maybe the education the child is receiving. Do you think those systems are necessary? What is your opinion on that?
You see, they are okay, but they are corrective systems.
Corrective facilities. They are corrective facilities.
Corrective facilities. They are not grounding.
No.
They are not grounding. I wanted to read this scripture, Bev, if you allow me.
Is it Deuteronomy?
Deuteronomy 6, verse 7. And you shall teach your children diligently. Diligently. And you shall talk to them when you sit in the house and when you walk by the way, holding your child, and when you lie down and when you rise up.
There is no rest. It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job. Now, what is this talking of? Availability. You see? Availability. Now, I love the Amplified Version. The Amplified Version says, you shall teach them diligently, please mark diligently, to your children, impressing God's precepts on their minds and penetrating their hearts with his truth. You see?
That's it.
And
no other truth but
God's truth. And you shall speak to them when you sit in your house, when you walk on the road, and when you lie down and when you get up. What are we saying here? Diligently. You have to be available.
Be available.
No one else can raise your child. No one. Church can't raise your child. Sorry.
No.
Now, there are some parents who take children to church and drop them there and go back home. They say, Sunday school, teach my child. They're not going to teach your child. You have to teach your child. Why? Because a parent is a God to a child. You see, these children see God through us. And when they are still young, I mean, the amount of authority that a parent has is not the same amount of authority that a Sunday school teacher has. No. When daddy says this, did I give you statistics around, we are seeing statistics around children remaining faithful to God, being taught God's truth and remaining spiritual, being spiritually anchored. We are seeing that when only mom, when both parents don't take their children to school, rather to church, they have just a 6% chance of being, this is about Christianity, so sorry, my brothers, the Muslims and the other faith, but Christianity, research was done, and it shows that for children to be Christians and remain faithful remain in the faith, 6% when children parents don't go to church, there is just a 6% chance that these children will be Christians and remain anchored in their spiritual walk. When both parents take the children to church, when mom,
Yes.
only mom takes children to church, they have a 16% chance of being Christians and remain in the faith. When they are taken by dad, when I'm talking about authority, they have a 55% chance.
That's almost 3 times.
3 times. 55% chance of remaining Christians and remaining anchored in the faith. When both parents go to church,
200%.
yes, when both parents take children to church, they have a 78% chance of being Christians and remaining anchored. Do you see that? So what are we talking about? Get your children, drop them to Sunday school. They don't care. They know that as long as dad doesn't go to church, then there must be a good reason why church is not.
Because he's the authority
Yeah,
at that
because
point.
he's the authority. He should be pointing them to that truth. And so since daddy doesn't go to church, then I'm being dragged there. But when I have a chance to grow up and stand against mom most of the time, then I will rebel. And this is what happens. When they turn teenagers, they say, daddy doesn't go. Especially when they are boys. They say, daddy doesn't do this. So why are you pushing me to do this? It's not useful. So children look to their parents as symbols of authority, symbols of wisdom, symbols of direction. So if a parent is not engaged, then they'll not learn from these other systems you're talking about. They'll just see, they'll go like, well, good idea, but if it was good, daddy would have told me.
It's interesting. All these things you've said don't cost money. Just change your behavior, spend time, talk to them. In no instance have you said, all you have to do is increase pocket money. And it's almost like last time when you said, the things of value don't cost.
They don't cost money.
The value that you insert in parenting correctly doesn't cost money. It just means taking time, listen, talk, go for walks. Those things.
You heard that
I like that.
Yes.
Yes, diligently.
How many parents hold their children's hands and walk and while they talk?
Yes.
You know how powerful that is? And do you know that this is the memory they keep when they grow?
Yes.
They'll say, oh, I remember this.
Yes.
Oh, I remember this.
We did this together.
This. They don't remember that daddy paid fees or mommy paid fees. And unfortunately, us parents, we are in the habit of reminding children, do you know how much I work, how much I, whatever. And the children are like, what do you mean? They don't.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money I pay for you in an international school?
Availability.
Even if you mentioned how many dollars, they don't understand. It doesn't.
They'd rather go to another school if it meant having more availability.
Yes. I think on this show we've ever shared about a teenager who always rebelled at school and to call for the attention of the parents.
Oh.
So he would do dramatic things because every time there was visitation, parents weren't available. There's parents-teacher consultation, they are not available. What did he do? He just walked to the gate and stepped out, and then they held him and they said, we've called both parents.
And that's what he wanted.
The parents came, and this boy said, that was the best day of my life, to see both my parents together and in the school compound. Imagine how shameful that is.
But how desperate was that child? Imagine how desperate.
That's why, because you see, they are, and this generation, they are craving our time. They are craving our time. You've heard stories of children who have walked up to their parents and say, Daddy, how much does 5 minutes, how much do I pay for 5 minutes? How much? And then they say, can I pay you so that you be here?
No.
That has been happening. And children are desperate. That's why we have very anxious generations. This Generation Z, very anxious. Why? Because of poor attachment, poor connection with their parents. Because dad, mom being around is calm and peace. If they are not around, a child is going to be anxious. When is mommy coming? Is daddy coming? So that's why we have very, very serious anxious generations. And so if we really want to do that, if we want to raise Generation Z, and um, um, I'm just, sometimes I feel like really our generation, you called it X.
X, yes.
I think we've let God down. We've really let God down because we've always praised our parents while we are doing a very bad job. Very, very bad job. And I'm not saying this to judge anyone. I'm part of that generation. I really feel we can do better. We can be available better. And I can hear some people say, what are you saying? Do you know how my schedule looks like? Well, I can imagine how your schedule looks like. But are your children part of your to-do list? You see, is your family part of your to-do list? Because if these families, if we only have houses without good humans, what are we doing? Really, what are we doing? Our houses, the other day I was telling people that sometimes our houses are more beautiful than the people that are in.
Because we take care of them more, maybe.
Yes.
The aesthetics.
No, so we've mastered the art of nourishing everything around us except the people, the hearts, the relationships that are in these houses. These houses, the walls are happier than the people that live in them. Because if your children are looking for you, you're not there. And you're taking pride in having enough food in the fridge, TV, and schools. But also, babe, I forgot to mention, our children are being raised by TVs and other gadgets, these ones. And they are seeing. That's why now we have more children who are addicted to pornography. Because they are trying to feed the pleasure principle. You remember?
Oh.
Yeah, they are feeding pleasure. When a child is on a phone, they are not looking for information to gain
education.
No, for reality.
Oh, no.
They don't go to inspirational speaking.
Channels, no.
They go to look for things that are going to give them pleasure. And because most of them are depressed and stressed, and they're like, what can make me happy? When they get here, they see stuff and they smile a little bit. And so that's how some of them have been hooked onto porn, because that gives them a bit of pleasure, you see. So, I mean, really, we can do a good job.
We can do better. And that's a wonderful way to end, I believe. Thank you so much. What a great summary. I don't know how many books the Lord may call you to write at this rate, because there's a lot of information. Thank you. And thank you for watching Raising Generation Z. I belong to that generation, so does Dr. Evers, and those are our children. We have learned so much, but most importantly, let's raise them in the way of God. Let our house become a home nurtured in Christ, because there's no other way. It's only God. There is no other way, no compromise. If you feel lost, as you may, or challenged, or feel that you need help, help is in the Bible, in the Word of God. And all you need to do is change your habit daily, and you'll see a magnificent change. Thank you so much for watching. This is Reality Check. Be blessed, and may you enjoy raising your children, Generation Z. Bye-bye.